All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our training this morning, our STEM training. We're excited that you're here. I'm just going to start with an introduction about CAP and then introduce our trainers. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. My name is Megan Nice, and I'm with Colorado Afterschool Partnership. I'm the network lead here at CAP. And CAP works to foster statewide partnerships that improve outcomes for all children and youth through high quality expanded learning opportunities, such as those found in after school and summer programs. Let's see, there we go. Just a few Zoom reminders. We are recording. Please stay on mute when you are not speaking, and you can use the chat feature if you would like to ask a question. And we are also going to break into breakout groups today too as well. For a quick check-in, please tell us your name, where do you work, your county, and how many youths do you serve? Whoops, got a typo there. How many youth do you work with? We were just curious who was here today. Good morning. All right. All right, we've got Tanya, Boys and Girls Club in Moffat County, 300 ish a year, 95 to 120 a day. Thank you. And Heather, Pinnacle Charter in Federal Heights, Adams County, 300 youth, 50 adults. We've got Amber, Colorado Springs Parks and Rec, El Paso County, 250 youth. Sam with Boys and Girls Club in Loveland, Larimer County, 25 kids. Diana, CSU Extension 4-H, and about 300 youth. And Sarah, Douglas County, 45 kids a day. All right, thanks so much. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about Colorado After School Partnership. As you see there, our mission is to develop partnerships that expand our quality learning and after school and summer programs in Colorado. We work in the areas of policy and partnership, sustainability, and quality. And CAP is a recipient of the Million Girls Moonshot grant, which has set a goal of engaging 1 million more girls in STEM learning opportunities through after school and summer programs over the next 5 years. And this grant is leveraging the Mott-funded state after-school network to reach all 50 states. So CAP is part of a 50-state after-school network. And it is through this grant that we bring you today's training. Today's trainers are with the National Girls Collaborative, which is a Million Girls Moonshot partner. The National Girls Collaborative seeks to maximize access to shared resources for public and private sector organizations interested in expanding girls' participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The overarching goal of NGCP is to use the leverage of a network or collaboration of individual girls serving STEM programs to create the tipping point for gender equity in STEM. Currently, 33 collaboratives serving 41 states facilitate collaboration between 36,000 organizations who serve 20.15 million girls and 9.5 million boys. That's fantastic. I would like you to introduce you to Dr. Brenda Britch, who will then introduce you to her team. Dr. Brenda Britch is a senior research scientist with the National Girls Collaborative Project, whose work focuses on increasing equity in STEM opportunities and fields for girls and women. She has over 15 years experience building collaborations across diverse sectors, invested in equity in STEM, and building capacity of educators to use research to inform practice and programming. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. We're so happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. we're excited the work that we're doing with Million Girls Moonshot has been super fun and just really satisfying to be able to work with after-school programs across the country. So thank you for being here. I'd like to have my colleagues introduce themselves. Lahari and Marissa are both here, and I will turn it over to Lahari first to introduce herself.
Thanks, Brenda, and thank you, Megan, for having us. My name is Lahari Chalasani. I'm the Senior Manager of Programs here at the National Girls Collaborative Project, and I oversee a lot of programs around equity, inclusion, and representation when it comes to girls in STEM programming. So excited here to talk about that with you, and I want to turn it over to Marissa.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. And it's nice to see you today, this morning. My name is Marissa Garcia. I am a senior program developer with the National Girls Collaborative Project. And I do several different things with National Girls Collaborative Project, including supporting and developing programming for informal and formal STEM learning, as well as running our webinar process. So if you've ever attended a National Girls Collaborative Project national webinar, I'm kind of one of the people behind the scenes and in front of the camera, making sure those go smoothly. So we are happy to have you all here with us today. As you see, this is our agenda here on the screen. We just did a welcome and some introductions. We will do a quick overview of National Girls Collaborative and Million Girl Moonshot, although Megan did a really nice job introducing those, so I'll probably keep it fairly brief. Brenda is going to engage us in an icebreaker and to talk more about why are we focusing on equity and STEM. We will have an overview of an equity and inclusion framework that was developed for the Million Girls Moonshot project. We will then do some small group breakout discussions, and we'll also have time for questions and to share resources at the end. So if we go to the next slide. As Megan said, we are the National Girls Collaborative Project, and the vision of the National Girls Collaborative Project is to support and create science, technology, engineering, and mathematics experiences that are as diverse as the world we live in. To do this, NGCP connects, creates, and collaborates with a network of advocates to promote equity and transform STEM for all girls and youth. NGCP strives to maximize access to resources, strengthen the capacity of projects, programs, and partners, and create the tipping point for gender equity in STEM by using the leverage and collaboration of our network. And NGCP is, as Megan said, an implementation partner with the Million Girls Moonshot. We are working together with Million Girls Moonshot to support you and the other state after-school networks in making your programming more equitable and inclusive. And with that, I'm going to turn it to Brenda to run us through a short little icebreaker and get us started.
Great, thank you. So I would like to ask everyone to participate in our icebreaker to kind of kick us off today. And so you'll see the directions on the screen. I'd like you to try to find an object near you that is related to STEM. So take a look around your space where you are and just identify something that is somewhat related to STEM in some way. It can be you define STEM. It can be anything that you think is related to STEM. And then I would like to ask you to, I'm going to stop sharing so you can actually show it. If you have your video on, you can show it. And you can also please describe it tell us what it is in the chat and describe how it's related to STEM if it needs a explanation. So I see Heather has a fork. Oh, it has a tool. Okay, it's a tool, right? A fork, excellent. And while everybody's getting theirs, I'm going to put on my STEM object, which are my daughter's science goggles that I keep by my desk. And Marissa has black plastic tubular full of ink, a 3D printed pen. Very cool, Marissa. Okay, and others just go ahead and type in the chat if you don't want to show in the in the video. What else do you have out there that's related to STEM? Scissors. Yep, definitely. Steve Spangler's energy stick. Great for STEM, as well as kids that come in your office and love to play with it. Talk about how it works. Oh, very nice, Jennifer. Okay, thank you. And Kylie has a calculator. Yep, definitely STEM related. Oh, and Donna, or am I saying your name correctly? Has some nice bats pictures, or it looks like they're bats that you can cut out, is what it looks like, right? Yep, great. Bat, cup of cold cup full of liquid, has condensation on the outside. Very nice, a STEM process. These are great examples. A couple more maybe before we move on. A Nalgene water bottle, excellent. Yep, we have many of those in our household as well. Thank you, Amber. Well, thank you, everyone. Feel free to continue to put items in the chat if you are still locating them or still typing. And okay, thank you, Donna. So template of bats, and they blow, oh, you blow into the straw and make the bat fly. That's even better, right? That's like bats are just STEM all on their own, but then you have that process in there, which makes it even more so. That's great. So we do icebreakers like these for a couple of reasons when we're working with educators. And one of them is really to just, we think it's good practice to do icebreakers because when you're working with youth, right, as you all know, it really can help kind of get people more comfortable and help everyone to start getting to know each other a little bit better. And when we're talking about kids who aren't as comfortable in science, technology, engineering, and math, it can really go a long way to help them feel comfortable with the content and in a group setting. And this icebreaker in particular, I love because it really could be any object that anybody thinks is related to STEM, right? And when we talk about equity in STEM, it's also really important to realize that we all think about science, technology, engineering, and math in different ways. And it's really related to our background, it's related to our culture, it's related to our education. So it's just a nice way to kind of start that conversation with adults, but also with youth. So thank you for playing along. We really appreciate it. I'm going to go back to our presentation. And I am going to start now with just a brief overview of why we think equity in STEM is so important, why we focus on it, and then I'll turn it over to Lahari to kind of walk through our framework that we're going to discuss today. So first of all, I wanted to just make the point that I'm sure we're all on the same page with this, but really to make the point that the inequities that we see in STEM participation and in STEM careers really aren't based on ability, right? So when we're talking about kind of the gender inequities that exist, it's not about abilities in math and science. Where we do see differences that really matter is in access to quality STEM opportunities. We see differences in interest and confidence in STEM. We see differences in youth sense of belonging in STEM, feeling like, STEM is for them, that they can do STEM, and perceptions of future success in STEM. So really believing that you can do STEM in the future is something that we see differences in across gender. So women are earning a majority of bachelor's degrees in the biological and social sciences at this point, but they're very underrepresented in degrees in engineering, computer science, and physics. And these fields are pretty important because not only do they offer security, they offer pretty high wages, usually. They're very secure, good paying jobs, but they're also growing, right? And so they're fields that we really care about in terms of having women so underrepresented in them. And at the workforce level, we see very similar patterns in terms of field. So the majority of women working in STEM are clustered in those biological and social sciences, and less so in the engineering, computer science, and physics. But also, women are just not making up their share of the STEM workforce overall. We make up almost half of the total workforce, but really just about 30% of the STEM workforce. So we still have some work to do. And we really want to bring up the issue of intersectionality and really acknowledge that we know that we all have multiple identities and we all have multiple factors that impact our trajectories, our educational trajectories, but really specifically also in science, technology, engineering, and math. And we know that the intersectional inequalities that exist relating to gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and others really can impact youth identification and participation in STEM. So with that background, I will turn it over to Marissa, or to Lahari, sorry, to walk us through the framework. Oh, sorry, I have one more slide. I wanted to make the point about the critical role that after-school programs play in our efforts to increase equity in STEM. So one of the reasons we love to work with after-school programs is because of the unique position you're all in to really tackle this issue. You're already serving youth who are traditionally underrepresented in STEM, serving the diverse audiences that after-school programs do. And you also have that youth development expertise, which is really important when it comes to issues around equity and helping level the playing field in our programs around STEM. And also you have more flexibility usually, right, than in the school day to offer some opportunities that we know are engaging to our youth who are less likely to identify with STEM. Research has shown that after-school programs play a really pivotal role in helping youth identify with STEM and to feel like they can do STEM, they're capable in STEM. But we also know that these opportunity gaps still exist for our youth in terms of gender, economics, and geography. So still work to do in all areas, although after-school programs are doing such great work in this area. We thank you for that work you're doing, and we look forward to being able to help you do it even more. So now I will turn it over to Lahari.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. All right, so the Equity and Inclusion Framework is a useful guide for supporting programs. This framework is a way to illustrate the particular concepts and variables that are connected to equity and inclusion specifically. It serves as a map illustrating connections and a way of identifying strategies and actions for addressing the specific issues. And Marissa just put the link in the chat, so if you want to zoom in into any of those concept areas and things like that, feel free to do so. But I will be taking you through each of the sections in a second. So this framework was created in partnership with and for the Million Girls Moonshot via STEM Next. And so the three concept areas that you see: broadening participation, youth-centric, and self-development. I'll guide you through these through a program conducted after school at a science museum in Virginia. So I'll connect key aspects of the program to the tactics and strategies that you see here in the framework. And the program, Latina Sci Girls, was created to motivate elementary-age Latinas to pursue STEM as a hobby or career by connecting them to professionals and hands-on experiences. You may hear me say we throughout as I manage this program before joining NGCP. And without further ado, let's get started. Next slide, please. So broadening participation, the goal behind this column is to ensure that STEM programming is welcoming and accessible. So the program started and ended with a family event so parents can connect to their children as well as program staff. Here you see a dad working with one of the 2B participants, creating an art bot using materials brought from a dollar store. So that shows that you can do science with materials just around you, maybe the stores that you go to, versus thinking that STEM is a big abstract working with telescopes. No, here's a toothbrush, a pool noodle, and some rubber bands and some markers. And voila, you're engineering and you're doing science. It's, you know, the elementary school that this program that we partnered with, I'm sorry, it is midday, my head went, whoa. So the school acted as our community partner. They allowed us to use their physical space, which is a familiar space for these families. And the flyers that we created were in English and Spanish, and the school helped us by passing out those flyers to the participants and possible families. So that really helped with the marketing aspect of this as well. I know there are a lot of times where we create flyers and you put them out and then no one sees them, so no one attends the programs and it becomes hard. But working with a community partner is a key aspect of making sure that programs are welcoming, because you're working with a familiar entity in that community that you're trying to go into. And so the other aspect that we made sure to include in this program is the staff. So we had staff from the museum, we had volunteer teachers as well. So this kids were excited, they had another familiar face to work alongside with. And then we had high school volunteers along with college students acting as staff. And then we also, we've had a couple of times where like a big brother or big sister would come and volunteer too. And so that really created this community effect that showed girls that the community is here to support them and welcome them. So that's kind of the broadening participation piece, is making sure that you're all encompassing when it comes to a program. Next, please. So Youthcentric is making sure that STEM programs increase a sense of belonging. I think Brenda mentioned that phrase, sense of belonging, earlier. And so there are a couple of ways. So you can address stereotypes, use role models, create a supportive environment, and make STEM personally relevant. And so here's a picture of a NASA optical engineer talking about polarization. While that sounds like an abstract concept, it's the science that's in sunglasses, right? And so connecting something to what participants use on an everyday basis took something that sounds, oh, NASA optical engineer, but wait, I have the science in my hands here every day. So showing that science is here, just like we did that STEM at home object activity, connecting it, making it personally relevant. And these role models, we made sure that these sessions, that we always had a female STEM professional, but we also showcased like our college staff that I mentioned, our high school staff who were pursuing STEM or were in STEM clubs. It doesn't necessarily have to be a STEM profession, but showing each step along the journey and having them showcase their ups and downs. And not only was it, oh, I now work at this amazing job doing STEM, but it was, how did my family react to it? What was hard about it? You know, what are my favorite things to do outside of STEM? So really giving them a whole picture of this role model. And then something that we used to do is start off each cohort by asking the question, what does representation mean to you? And you'll be surprised, kids have an understanding of what this means. They say it in different ways, and they understand stereotypes at a young age. And so we spent some time addressing stereotypes, talking about how this program will help to dispel them and kind of build that confidence within themselves. And so that's Youthcentric, focusing on their voice, their attitudes towards this. The next one, please, Brenda, is skill development. And so here you see some pictures of kids. I think they're creating an animal habitat, and as a group using, again, kind of everyday materials. We had a big bin of random things and we're like, go build. And so every session, this was a series of 7 sessions, and every session had a hands-on activity, had actually multiple hands-on activities that were led by them. It really required their participation, and we as the educators were the facilitators. So we empowered them and encouraged them to explore and tell us what they wanted to learn from this concept. And then each session was again combined with those role models, like mentioned, who then talked about their career. So really making this, oh, you're doing this fun activity, but guess what? There's this big science behind it, and you can make it your job once you graduate college or once you graduate high school. And we also made it so that we celebrated failure. We actually put activities in the curriculum that would not work out. And by doing that, we built resiliency. We also focus on the growth mindset, showing that like failure is key, especially in engineering and science fields, that you need to fail in order to learn. And so that's something that may not get taught in schools, or maybe something that, especially as females, are taught, like you have to be perfect, you have to do it this certain way, it has to turn out this way. But by celebrating failure, showing them that they can indeed be resilient in this way. And we also always had them work in groups as well as individually to show that they can work on their kind of social skills and working in different ways, working with students they didn't all know. And here you see the pictures holding a paper plate award of like, use of best materials or use of whatever. We cut it up and said, without working together, you could not have won this award. So that way they have to put it together and show that teamwork is important in this case. And then last but not least, you'll see, if you looked at the framework, you'll see kind of a ribbon at the bottom, and that speaks to cultural responsiveness. So cultural responsiveness is key to all of the columns. It ties in all the different aspects. When you're looking at creating a program, you want to make sure you're being culturally responsive. And what does that exactly mean? So for this program, making sure that curriculum was in English and Spanish. We worked with the parent liaisons, which was amazing because they have the connection to the community. They know their needs. They know that the girls, as in general, don't like this particular things because something happened at school or something. So we can navigate away from that. So really like focusing on their wants and needs for the program. And then responding to current events. This is a strange one, but one of the early cohorts, the students all asked if we can do a drive for Hurricane Maria because Puerto Rico was hit really hard. And so it was really important for us to be able to support them in their kind of wants in that case, because we're showing them like global communities solving global problems, right? Through STEM, it's also making sure that they're connected to the global community. So when they showed that they want to do that, the museum acted as a center for that, which is really great. And the picture that you see here is at our culminating event. It's the Familia de la Fiesta, and it's at the end where we celebrate all the girls. They get certificates, they get bags with safety goggles, trinkets, things that they've made and collected over the program. And this was really important because we found that kind of showcasing them to their families is really important. I think it's important in all cultures. But then we combine it with a potluck style. So people were able to bring their home country foods and then kind of showcase it. And then we also had hands-on activities. So we started off with the hands-on activity with the parents at the beginning of the cohort, and then we ended with it to show that the parents can be a part of their girls' learning. And another way we added to that was we sent home family flyers or parent flyers at the end. And because how many times have you like asked a child, how was your day at school? And you're like, oh, it was okay, it was fine, right? You don't really get much more, but we want to create that conversation. And so we included like engineering words, vocab words in English and Spanish on the parent flyer. We asked, oh, when you tried to make that, helicopter fly, what happened to it? So we gave them specific questions so they can engage in conversation. And we saw that parents' confidence in STEM also increased. And we were able to find out that information via surveys that we did pre and post. So it was great to see kind of growth mindset, not only for the children, but for the parents. And that's really important when you're thinking about that broadening participation aspect, making sure that the family engagement piece is there too. So I think that's it for the Latina Sci Girls program and talking about this framework in this way. But I think what we want to do next, and I think Brenda will talk about it, is how will you utilize the framework in your programming, or how do you all already utilize it?
Right. Thank you, Lahari. That was a great example to walk us through to get a little bit better understanding of the framework. So yeah, we're going to give you some opportunity to talk with each other in small groups. I do encourage you to click on the link open up the framework if you haven't done so already, because I think it will be helpful to be able to see it. Lahari identified some of the strategies in the framework, but there are others that might be good prompts for you as you are talking in your groups. So we'd like you to think about a strategy, just a piece of this framework, something you heard, or just something that you see on the framework that resonates with you as something that you would like to strengthen in your program. And it might be helpful to start the conversation with what you're already doing. What are some things that the people in your group are already doing in these areas that is strong? And then moving to, okay, so I do this, we're doing this well, but really what can we work on? What can we strengthen? And then thinking about a next step you could take to strengthen that strategy. So it could be, it could be something like wanting to get more community partners or better representation, and just planning to put that, having that discussion with different people in your program. It could be something bigger, like having a role model, come to your program if you haven't done that, or that's something that you want to do, or even start with maybe showing role model videos if that's something you want to do. But anything that you're thinking would be helpful to your program, that would help you focus a little bit on helping youth feel like they can do STEM, they can identify with STEM, STEM is for them. Those are ideas that we're looking for. So I think we're going to put you, okay, Marissa gives a thumbs up. Just going to put you into groups, and we're going to have, I think, about 10 minutes to be able to have conversations. So if you don't know each other yet, please introduce yourself and where in the state you're from, and then start talking about, what you're doing and really focusing on what you want to strengthen. Are there any questions before we go into our rooms? I can't see if there are any hands raised. Looks like. Okay, great. But we will see you back in about 10 minutes. Have a good discussion.
Hi, Donna. Let us know if you need help.
Am I still sharing my screen or no?
I don't think so.
Great. Welcome back, everyone. I'm actually just going to put us back into, I need to be sharing my screen to have our conversation. Marissa, does it look like everyone's out of the rooms and back? Great. All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Welcome back. Let's, we would love to hear from some of you around your conversations, either just kind of what you discussed, or if you landed on something to focus on. We would also love to hear that. We'd also love to hear things that you're already doing in this area. So feel free to unmute yourself and share. I think we had 3 groups. It'd be great to hear from at least somebody from each group. I know we don't have a lot of people.
I can share from our group.
Great, Amber, thank you.
Yeah, so we just kind of talked about what we're focusing on, and I was with Kathy and Kylie. Kylie is focusing on citizen science and trying to incorporate that up at Estes Park. And then Kathy received a grant for Ignite STEM. I'm not sure if you guys know that one either, but she's hoping to incorporate that next semester. And then I said a focus for down here in the Springs was I'm trying to find outlets and programs to bring into the before and after program that kind of incorporates how to give back to the community through STEM. So one of the projects we did for Creek Week just this past week was had the watershed program come to us and show us about plastics in the water, and then that turned into like recycling and picking up around our centers. So I want to do more stuff like that so the kids understand how it benefits them in their community.
That's great. Thank you. Those are 3 really nice examples. And I love that relevance at the end, making these activities personally relevant is really well documented, right, as a way to engage youth in STEM who aren't always as comfortable with STEM. So
yeah, I think that's a good way to, especially to introduce it to kids who might not be aware on how everything ties into their well-being. So
exactly. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And I wish I could be a part of a citizen science project in Estes Park. That would be super fun. It's so beautiful there. Okay, another someone else from one of the other groups. No, we have 2 other groups.
Hi, this is Jen from Wellington. I'm here with Zach and Beth. I just wanted to say we have CSU STEM coming every week, and the kids have been loving it. They're always eager to get in. We do 2 groups because usually, the groups are full, and that's been really great. They've been doing really great things. Yesterday they did a space theme, and it's very hands-on, and the kids seem to love it, and there's no problem with attendance all around, and we're lucky to have them.
And who are they? I'm sorry, just not being.
A STEM program from CSU.
Oh, okay, great. And so they're coming in once a week, did you say?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And they work with youth. Okay.
Yeah, they've done like space themed, and they were doing rocks and volcanoes, and then before that it was kind of engineering with and then stuff like that. So it's great, hands-on and really active, and the kids get excited.
Great. Thank you for sharing. We have time for just one more quick share. If somebody wants to mention something that their group talked about, or just something that you personally are going to work on for your program. Oh, Donna, are you?
Sorry.
That's okay. I saw you talking, so we'd love to hear.
I'm gonna work on not being intimidated by doing STEM, and gonna work on reaching out more to people as our community starts to open up more, and allows more people to come into our programs and things like that. I'm going to work on compiling a list of people that can bring ideas and activities into the program.
That's great. Thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned that first one about wanting to be less intimidated by it, because I think that's important. I think, we all don't have a strong background in STEM necessarily, or are, trained as STEM educators. But I think the great thing about working with youth in STEM is that we know that it's helpful for youth if we all kind of learn together and don't give them the answers anyway. So that always, that always makes me feel a little bit better when I'm doing STEM activities with kids, because it's not my background either. So Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
All right, great. Well, thank you all. These are all great ideas. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Marissa to wrap up a little bit and then back to Megan.
Sure, thank you. So I have not seen any questions come through in the chat, but if you have any questions about anything we presented today or about the National Girls Collaborative Project generally, or the Million Girls Moonshot, you can feel free to ask now. It's a great time to do so. And I also just wanted to echo what Donna and Brenda were saying about maybe like that intimidation feeling, or like finding a network of people. And so we are the National Girls Collaborative Project. And so we're all about collaboration and not feeling like any one person or one organization is the expert in the room. And so you're really fortunate to have this great CAP group that is bringing you all together from across your state, where you can share resources, you can share things that you're really comfortable and feel like an expert in. And you can also share questions or hesitations about things that you might be wanting to work on, but you're just not sure how to start. And you can actually help one another and really collaborate well together to, you know, make your entire state's after school network that much stronger. And then, you know, building from that is that Million Girls Moonshot, where we have all 50 states that are, you know, coming together, learning upon shared goals, and really working to really solidify and make the after school network as strong as it can be in STEM. So don't forget about the networks you already have kind of in place already here today and then beyond today, and leverage those, reach out to people. You know, we've learned in our time as an organization that making those connections and sustaining them by just having casual conversations, asking questions, sharing resources can be really powerful. And okay, I still have not seen any questions come through, so I'm going to just move forward. But if they do, feel free to add them in the chat. We're happy to do our best to answer them in the time remaining. We wanted to let you know we are also sharing some resources with this presentation. And so you've seen some of these come through the chat as we've gone on. We have the Equity and Inclusion Framework, and we have a resources page for those. We also have specific resources related to each of those 3 core kind of areas: the broadening participation, youth-centric, and skill development. And thank you, Lahari is putting those in the chat, so you can check those out. They have just more details, some, you know, grounding research, as well as resources, examples for you to look at and really think about how this might apply to your program as you're planning STEM with your youth. And we can go to, oh, there it is. And with that, I'll just close us out and say, as I mentioned, we're always happy to collaborate. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. There are emails there, and we are happy to connect and chat more about anything you learned today or any questions you may have in the future. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Lahari and Brenda, for presenting today. We'll turn it back to Megan.
Thank you for that information. That was wonderful. So thanks everybody for being here. I did want to say that one thing that CAP will be doing is we're going to be offering a mini grant opportunity in early 2022 to develop a STEM program at your sites. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sharing more in our CAP newsletter around that. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. And you'll see here some information for upcoming events and trainings that we have. And then Jennifer, can you share the links? Yeah, wonderful. So we do have another training with this wonderful group on equity and inclusion in STEM, the role of cultural responsiveness, on November 17th. October 5th, we have a community approach to support student mental health and well-being, and that's being led by a CDE employee who's going to talk about how to work with community organizations to support mental health. We are going to have a discussion about the LEAP initiative. You may have heard of that. That's going to be happening October 11th. And then October 21st and 22nd, we have our 2-day Open Mind, Open Space conference that will also be having some STEM within it, but also some other wonderful breakout opportunities and learning opportunities. So all of those links are being shared by Jennifer if you want to learn more about those. And I thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
That's
for your
it.
time.
Thank you all. Have a good day. Thanks, Megan.
Oh, I'll also add that we will send a follow-up email with all the links that were shared today as well.
Great, thank you.